With the emphasis on high school students taking classes to get into UC, what about vocational education and career choices? We'll explore this and much more when we come back. Stay with us.
In January, it's so nice, walking on sliding ice. To sip hot chicken soup with rice, sipping once, sipping twice, sipping chicken soup with rice. You make a ride go away, flowers sing all day, and dream about my soup all day. All right once, all right twice, eat a chicken soup with rice, chicken soup with rice.
Hi, I'm Bruce Grantham, and welcome to Our Children, Our Future, a program about education in the South San Francisco Unified School District. Everyone would agree that a rigorous high school education grounded in language arts, math, science, and social sciences is the key to success in higher learning. But what about balance? That balance used to be provided by vocational classes, shops, and business classes. With me to talk about the state of vocational education in the South San Francisco high schools are Thomas Coddington, Foods and Interior Design teacher at El Camino High School, and Dave Hill, auto shop teacher, longtime auto shop teacher at South San Francisco High School. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, to what extent are what we think of as the traditional vocational education classes still offered in high school?
Well, we're lucky that our district still offers quite a few classes. We have auto, we have drafting, we have electronics, we have photography, and we have woods at South San Francisco High School.
What about at El Camino?
Well, we have some of those. We have auto and photography. We also have computers, the keyboarding and business, which I believe you have at your school as well. And we have foods, clothing, and interior design.
And those are the programs that you teach.
Mm-hmm.
And interior design's a new program. And also you have a tech lab.
Yes, we do, where they can explore careers by going through different small modules.
And it's interesting, this tech lab, which is now housed in what used to be the wood shop at El Camino High School, which is kind of a symbol of kind of what we're talking about in this segment of the program tonight.
Some change.
Thomas, what has contributed to the decline in the number and types of vocational classes that are offered in high school now, do you think?
Well, some of that is kind of a ghost from the past. 50 years ago, high schools would track students, and if you were taking vocational ed classes, you were not going to college. If you took college-bound classes, you didn't have time to take the vocational ed typically, and they were seen as an either-or, and people were being inappropriately tracked. That was done away with, but we still hear echoes of that, and people are saying, no, we don't want voc ed, we want educational classes. We want the strong academic classes. And the students, that's the parents that are saying that, and the parents are heard. And there's only so much money to go around, there's only so much time to go around, and the parents get listened to. And that cuts back on the availability of voc ed.
Well, and the UC system, one of the things that you kind of alluded to, but when you really get down to it, I mean, the high school curriculum and what is required for students to get into a four-year school, whether it's the University of California or the California State College system, that's dictated by the offerings that students have to take in high school. And if there are more academic offerings that they have to take in order to get into these universities and colleges and the private universities, then doesn't that cut back on the elective opportunities for students?
It allows less time for the students to explore careers, which one of the purposes of our program is to give them a focus or a direction that they might want to take for a career.
Now, we were having conversations about that reality, and one of the things, Dave, you were talking about is that the entry-level class, the auto one, the woods one at your school, electronics and so forth, are still fairly well enrolled. It's when the students go beyond their freshman year that all of a sudden the elective opportunities seem to decrease, and it really cuts into the voc ed programs.
It's more a lack of time for the students to be able to take an advanced class, and their schedule becomes more rigorous because they are trying to often meet those A to G requirements.
In addition to that, the state has increased the academic requirements for graduation. The number of semesters of English has increased over a few years ago, and now algebra, of course, is a graduation requirement. That wasn't always the case.
Right.
So that cuts into those opportunities also.
Yes, it does.
What role do you think that vocational education classes should play in high school?
The students' interest is very much there. The students want to take these. They watch television, they see cars being repaired on TV, foods being cooked on TV, they see
food channels, big deal on cable TV.
Sports and basically these vocational programs are almost the same number. We can look at several channels that are dedicated to sports, and there's several channels dedicated to making over houses, making over cars, making over food. To technology. It's there. They watch it and they come in and they're excited by that and they want to explore that. So
it shows them that there's opportunities out there.
Yes.
They can use their creativity.
And so there are still the opportunities for students that are not the university-bound student.
Sure there are.
And even just to play on that for another moment, you also have students that their learning styles are not going to loan themselves to math and English classes. And school is very frustrating for a lot of people. They go through and they go, I don't want to sit here. I don't want to have to sit behind a desk and read. They want to be physically doing something. And they learn by doing. And to have a class where they can turn around and use their creativity, use their hands, be up, be moving, that excites them. And that holds people in school.
There still seems to be pretty strong offerings of vocational and business classes in South San Francisco high schools. Is that true throughout the Bay Area?
Well, unfortunately, some of the local school districts haven't had the support that our superintendent and our principals have provided us with to continue offering elective courses in vocational skills.
But South San Francisco gets a lot of support.
We've been fortunate that we have.
That's good.
There's also kind of a double-edged sword here, where as more and more schools were cutting back on their vocational ed programs, the colleges began discouraging people from considering that. And subsequently, we now have a shortage of vocational ed teachers in the Bay Area, and a number of the programs are closing because they don't have anyone to fill.
And in some instances, in a lot of these schools, the facilities that were dedicated to voc ed have been transferred over to tech labs and this sort of thing. So even if you wanted to bring back some of those programs, facilities, equipment, and qualified teachers are the problem. What do you think the future holds for voc ed in high schools? Dave, you've been around for quite a while, and you've seen the pendulum go back and forth.
Fortunately, our current government is going to supply us potentially with an increase in funding, and maybe we'll see a turnaround with the vocational programs, and some of the students will see value into going into a career directly out of high school, or perhaps going to one of our local community colleges.
Thomas, from your perspective?
A number of the colleges are now talking more about doing recruitment for this as well. San Francisco State is starting to do more in this direction, which is a year ago was not true.
So there is some brightness on the horizon for voc ed.
Yes, there is.
And in South San Francisco, it's still alive and kicking.
Yes,
and thanks to both of you for coming on, and it's teachers like you that keep it moving in that direction. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to look at how South San Francisco high schools are attempting to get students to focus on a course of study that might lead them to a career. Stay with us.
January is so nice. Walk swimming on the sliding ice.
Prudential California Realty is pleased to support the South San Francisco Unified School District. With several offices located throughout the South Bay, we help home buyers realize their dreams of ownership and sellers maximize their home investment. Prudential California Realty is a longtime partner with education, having created the Education Foundation in 1992, which provides grants to teachers throughout Northern California. Prudential California Realty, your partner in real estate.
You've always been like a son to me, Mikey. And that's why I find it unfortunate that we're in this little situation here. No, don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna pay for this. Peninsula TV. How will it affect you?
Way back when I went to high school in the early 60s, in the 9th grade, students had to choose a track when they came into high school. College prep, you aspired to a 4-year college or university. Or a general track where community college was where you were bound. Or vocational or business track, the world of work or trade school was your lot. Today, South San Francisco high school students, high schools, ask students to take a career focus in their class choices. With me to discuss career pathways is Tina Graff, counselor at South San Francisco High School. Hi, Tina.
Hi.
And Bob Warfield, school to career coordinator for the district, and my teacher in high school. Bob, nice to see you. Tina, tell us about career pathways and why students are asked to make some rather early decisions about their lives after high school.
Career pathways, they're basically clusters of occupations that require different levels of education and training. So what we do as high school counselors is we work with the students to make sure that we enroll them in the classes that will prepare them for the career of their choice. And there are 7 pathways that we have. The pathways are arts, media, and communication, health and human services, hospitality, tourism and recreation, computer information systems and business services, retail, wholesale, marketing, and international trade, industrial technology, engineering, transportation and construction, and environment and natural resources. And with those, there's 3 different levels for each of these pathways. One level is the entry level, and that requires a high school diploma. The second level is a technical level, which requires that you go to community college or vocational or trade school. And the last one is a professional level, which is a 4-year college or university.
Explain to me a little bit about what those levels mean. Is that a conversation that you have with students when they come into the office?
Absolutely. What we'll do is work with the student. We meet with them and we say, you know, what do you see yourself doing as a career when you get out of high school? We talk about the different levels. When they pick a pathway, we'll go through the level, say they're interested in becoming, going to culinary school and becoming a chef. We would look and find what level that was at, and then we would piggyback with the classes that they need to take to be able to get to that level of their career.
Okay, let's say I'm a freshman, a female freshman, young freshman girl, and I come into your class and I say, you know, my mom was a nurse, my aunt was a nurse, by golly, I want to be a nurse. What pathway should I take?
Well, that's health and human services. And what we would do is sit down with the student, find out what kind of nurse she wants to be. Do you want to be a home nurse? Do you want to be a pediatric nurse? Do you want to work in a hospital? At that point, once we determine that, we go through the interests inventory with them to make sure that they're actually realistic about what they want to do. Do they like to work with people? Do they, you know, are they good with data input? Are they good with sick people? Can they handle that? And so then we take their information and then we put it together with a program in high school so that it meets the level of the career they want to enter.
So they've got to focus. They just don't come in and throw darts at a dartboard about what I'm going to take. There are certain courses that'll help them explore where they're thinking as a 9th grader where they'd like to go after high school. Bob, the school to career program has developed a curriculum that kind of goes along with the pathways that keeps students focused and on track. What's the school to career curriculum like?
Well, we do a little work in the middle schools with interest, and they do a spring career fair. And in the high school, we do have a 30-day program in the 9th grade where the students will start to look at many careers, not only what their mom or dad or uncle or neighbor does. It's kind of interesting what you said about the fact that the mom and the grandmother were nurses and so forth. One of the aspects of the 9th grade is you look at a career that you don't think you want, because we can't all be rock stars or, you know, professional athletes. So in case something happens, what would you do? And so that's one of the things they do for that 30 days. Then in the 10th grade, they do in the social studies department, they do some more research and refine it a little bit more. And then in the, and that's about a 10-day program. Then another 10-day program, usually in the spring, they, in the English department, they do the resume writing and start to focus a little bit more. And then in the junior year, they spend about a week and trying to, again, refine that because they know what's going to happen in their senior year.
Yeah, tell us about the senior year, because that's when it kind of all comes to a head.
Right. It's what the student must do is bring all this together and do a 15-minute oral presentation in front of 3 judges, and not necessarily school personnel, but there could be the mayor or your neighbor or whatever, and they have to get a tutor, or mentor I should say, who's not a family member, who will put them through whatever they're going to do on their either vocation or advocation.
Their pathway, their career choice.
Their pathway. Yeah, I should back up and say at the end of the 10th grade, they and their parents declare one of the pathways, which they can change once they may get into it, maybe a nurse, and realize they can't stand the sight of blood, so they better go into something else, another pathway. And so they do this 15-minute presentation, and the byproduct of this is that not only it makes them focus right down to graduation, because they do their presentation in the afternoon of their finals. And so there's no quote-unquote senior...
no senioritis, no sliding the last semester.
You can't do it. You got to focus right till the end.
Because the senior exit project is part of their English grade, and they have to pass English in order to graduate.
That's right,
so.
Yes. And so the one thing all seniors say is make sure those juniors next year start early. It's nice to say, but they don't always do it.
The two of you, when we discuss this, you have a great slogan that goes along with this whole focus, and it's career by, how does that go?
Well, I have to give credit to ROP, but I like the slogan so much I stole it, and that is a career by choice, not by chance.
And that's truly the way it is from the time they come into the school as a freshman and culminating with the senior exit project.
That's correct.
Has the career pathways focus and the school to career curriculum made a difference, do you think, for students?
I think it absolutely has, because I think the kids come in as freshmen and they get a focus. They're also more accountable and responsible for their academic career in high school, as well as what their goals are when they get out, and they kind of see a connection, so they can see the vision, they can see it happening, and they have a focus. So,
Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, I certainly agree. The fact that when mom or the counselor or someone says take algebra, why? I don't want what I want to do with algebra, but I want to be an airline pilot. Why do I need algebra? Or why do I need science? Well, this gets them the idea of why I'm taking this course, because that's what it's going to lead to my career. So that gives it more meaning to take this course, whatever it may be that you, the counselor, has placed them in, because it leads to that career.
And I think it would be helpful for counselors and for teachers, because it really does give you something to really focus on when you do have your discussions with the students. And teachers answering that question, students are always asking, why do I need this class? Or where am I going to use this? Or how am I going to use that in the future? Well, I think it's definitely made a difference. And I've judged some of those senior exit projects, and they're fantastic. Some of the things that the students do and explore and are able to present, and what they have learned as a result of this exploration over 4 years is truly impressive. So thank you for explaining that to us all. Our discussion about vocational classes and career choices has been pretty much theoretical to this point. In our next segment, we're going to look at the world of work at El Camino and South City High School. We'll be right back.
January, it's so nice. Walk swimming on sliding ice.
If you live on the peninsula, there's only one place to get the latest news on business, sports, politics, education, and your community. Peninsula TV, Channel 26, the Peninsula and South Bay's Emmy Award-winning programming resource. For more information or for a programming schedule, go to PenTV.tv or call us at 650-637-1936. Peninsula TV, your community programming channel.
Real estate with Bobby Decker is for anyone who owns a home or aspires to do so. Everything that is important to or an interesting facet of home ownership will be covered by our program. Please join us. You won't want to miss Real Estate with me, your host, Bobby Decker.
Emmy Award-winning Peninsula TV provides a large multifunctional TV studio and video production facility, state-of-the-art equipment, and affordable prices. Let our professional staff and crew produce your company or organization's next video, or create your own TV series and air it on one of the Bay Area's largest community cable channels. Contact Peninsula TV at pentv.tv or call 650-637-1936.
Many high school students work for a variety of reasons, and many of those students receive high school credit for the work that they do. With me to talk about the work experience programs at South San Francisco and El Camino High School are Diana Ariani, Work Experience Coordinator at South San Francisco High School, and Jim Murphy, Work Experience Coordinator at El Camino High School. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
You were listening to the other two segments. That's all kind of well and good, but you guys deal with the everyday, hey, I want a job, and how do I get a job, and what do I have to do to get a job, and what do I have to do to keep a job? Jim, what is the work experience program about? What is it? What's work experience?
Well, I think from the perspective of a student, it's a dream come true. They get high school credits for working, they get paid, and in some cases they get out of school early. But the way that the program works is that they need to work a minimum number of hours per week and during the semester. If they work an average of 10 hours per week and accumulate at least 144 hours, then they can earn 5 high school credits. If they do double that, 10 hours per week, 288 hours per semester, then they can earn 10 high school credits. In some cases, the students are released from school early. They may take 4 classes in the morning. They're released at 12:30, and then they can go to the employer and they can start working at 1 o'clock. In other cases, students maybe are behind on credits, or possibly they're trying to enhance their college resume, so they may take it as a 7th or 7th and 8th period class and accumulate more credits.
Pretty good deal.
It is.
Pretty good deal. Diana, what's the role of the Work Experience Coordinator? What do you do?
Well, we do many things. We try and support the community of employers and parents and students at the same time. So our main focus, of course, is to teach the student how to be a good employee, how to enter the workforce, to know what's expected of them, how to present themselves both orally and on paper. And we teach a 2-year curriculum with anything from checkbook balancing to how to pay their taxes to how to deal with irate customers. Jim and I also attend training, so we know what's current on workplace laws, and we try and inform employers of that. We also issue the work permits for all students, not just our work experience students. And we try and mentor our students through the difficult times.
You mentioned the work permits. Since you guys are the gatekeepers of the work permits at the high schools,
right.
Give us an idea of how many students are working at both high schools.
As far as my school, I have quite a few. I've issued already for this year maybe 150 work permits. That would be about 10% of our population. But that's only for the first 3 months of school. So we will get up to maybe 20 to 30% of our students at any one time working during the school year.
What number would that be about? About 300?
300 would be 10%, would be 20%.
What about at El Camino?
I probably will issue about 275 permits this year. And I guess the other thing is that a lot of students are working in non-traditional jobs too. They're doing babysitting, elder care. They may be delivering flyers for an insurance company or a real estate company. And then, of course, a lot of the kids are working for employers who are not requiring work permits, and so you can't track those. We can't track that, but we are out there and we're talking to the students about the fact that legally they need to have a work permit.
What's the requirement of a work permit? In order for a student to get a work permit, what's the requirement?
They fill out an application. There's a portion of it that they fill out. Then we verify their age on the application. We go into the school records and we verify their age. The employer fills out information, and a key piece of information that the employer fills out is the workers' compensation insurance company that covers their employees and our students. Because one big issue for us is providing for the health and safety of our students while they're in the workplace.
Sure. Of those many students, of those work permits that you've issued, that both of you have issued, how many are in the work experience program?
I'd say about a third.
So you have 50 some odd?
I have between 50 and 60 students.
And Jim?
I have 41 right now. Okay. And the numbers traditionally have been a little bit higher at South San Francisco High School.
Okay. What is the difference between the student who's just working with a work permit and the student that's in the work experience program? What's the advantages of a student being in a work experience program?
Well, as far as on the work permit itself, they're allowed to work longer shifts. So somebody who's not in work experience has a maximum, if they're 16 or 17, of working a 4-hour shift after school, where a work experience student could work longer. Of course, they're given the option to leave school early as well. So that's why they're allowed to work longer. So the employers typically like work experience because if they have that 5-hour shift, they can't put a typical student in it.
Usually our work experience students are a little bit more experienced too. They've had jobs before this. They're a little bit more knowledgeable. They might be working for a little higher wage. And then as a result of taking the class that they take, because we teach a class once a week, and we go over the child labor laws with them. We teach them what their rights are and what their responsibilities are. We also deal with them on health and safety issues in the workplace. We do personal finance with them. We teach them how to build up a career portfolio, resume writing, applications, having a list of professional references and that sort of thing. So I think that our students are much more knowledgeable than the typical student that's
some
just
real
out there
advantages
working.
to it. I visited your work experience class last week, and we've got a few slides that I'd like to show our viewers. And Jim, maybe you can tell me what you were doing on this particular day.
Well, we were going over the job application and how to properly fill out the job application. So we were going over some of the terminology that they should be aware of, talking about the fact that it should be neat and that employers will judge them just on the neatness of the application. And so we went through the basic rules for it, and then they got started actually filling out the application, and then I circulated around and gave them some assistance on it. And the end result was that they needed to bring back their completed application to me at this morning's class. And then this morning I followed that up by talking about how to fill out an application for renting an apartment or a house.
Wonderful.
We went through some of that.
Wonderful. I don't think many of our viewers are aware of what an extensive program work experience is. Your phone will be ringing off the hook tomorrow, probably. Well, we run out of time for tonight's program. I want to thank my guests, Thomas Coddington and Dave Hill, voc ed teachers, Tina Graff, counselor from South San Francisco High School, Bob Warfield, School to Career, and of course Diana Ariani and Jim Murphy. Thank you all for being on with us tonight. I'm Bruce Grantham. You've been watching Our Children, Our Future. See you next time.